Good morning, and to our friends joining us abroad, good evening. Welcome to Mirage Talks. Today, we welcome the talented Hilla MT. She is a Mirage Fellow from our FinTech chapter. She's also the COO, Product Manager, Blockchain Keynote Speaker, and she is here to touch on the subject, crypto, blockchain, and NFT, the next generation of web. Hilla, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's get started.
Thank you, Chrissy. Hello, everyone. Okay, I'll start by sharing my screen and I will dive right in. Okay, now you see me and here we go. So by the latest headlines, you probably heard that AI is the new queen, right? Well, I'm here to discuss about another queen that I really love to talk about, the blockchain. The way I see it, blockchain is going to revolutionize our lives. You know, maybe as much as the AI, but for the greater good, I really believe that this will help. This will happen. And before I'll do that, I just want to ask you: do you think that the next generation of the internet is already here, the Web3? This talk will basically be working about the past, the history, and of course, the present and the near future. So let's dive right in and let's go back to the past. Do you remember when back in the 90s, Web 1 actually refers to the early stage of the World Wide Web? As you probably remember, we used to use static pages with limited interactivity. The content was primarily read-only pages, where users consumed information based on limited ability to interact. Websites were basically often text-based. We used to show some of images, but they were lack of dynamic content. And specifically, they were user-generated content. So the focus on these web static pages was on publishing information rather than the user engagement or interactivity that we probably know as what we are using today, the Web 2. Today, this is the next generation of the internet, Web 2. This is what we are using currently right now. And interactive websites that we are connecting people through an existing platforms like social medias and podcasts and blogs and videos like YouTube. So we basically own a personal profile, and the website recognizes the information basically by the profile. So we as user can read and write. My profile on LinkedIn, for example, which you can find anywhere, is different from the profile, of course, of Danny, right? And it's different from the profile of Sue. So each one of us see a different feed, a different type of content. And it is profile-based recognition. This is what Web 2 brings to us. It brings us content and data that we can interact with. You know, there are other different platforms that we are using on social media like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, WhatsApp, and many, many more that you can see and relate that the content is profile driven. And it is, of course, using several algorithms that share with us the content based on our user experience. And this led us, and me specifically, to the Web3. So the Web3, the way I see it, it is the next generation of the world, of the web. It is a decentralized web based on blockchain, AI, machine learning, and most of the technologies that you've probably heard of. The Web3 actually aims to the power of the user with the greater control, where they can control their data, they can control which content they own and which they are not. lack of a lot of things that can be help to the user itself, promote privacy, transparency, and of course, innovation. So the user is basically able to read and write and execute. And the new revolution is actually that the user now owns its own data. What does it mean? We will talk about it very soon. All of those options are currently exist in this generation of the Web 2. And basically, because of the adoption of the blockchain technology, which we'll discuss more in a few moments, the Web 3 is very evolving and adopting more and more decentralized options. So let's talk about blockchain. You heard this word a lot. You probably know what it means, but let's do some diving. So the blockchain is basically a chain of blocks, and each block contains data. And the blockchain technology basically is a decentralized digital ledger that records and verifies transactions, providing transparency, security, and immutability. The blockchain is a chain of blocks that contain records of data. It was invented in the late 90s in order to prevent changes in the digital signature time signature of documents. And for many years, this technology was not used until it was adopted by inventors of the Bitcoin, which you probably heard of, and we will discuss in a few moments more. So a decentralized ledger is basically an open for all. It is transparent, and each and every one of us can view and see the content of the blocks. Each block contains data of the transactions, specifically on the Bitcoin blockchain, and each block contains the hash string of the previous block and the next block. Sorry. And what I mean by that, for example, if we see this image of blocks, right, we can see that each block has a specific order. The first block connected to the second, and the second connected to the third, and so on and so on. So each block is very unique by having this hash key string, and this string represents an address of the previous block and the next block, which means that each blockchain is very immutable. We cannot change it. We cannot replace the blocks within the blocks. It is not temperament. It is constant, which means that the data within the blocks is permanent and no one can change it. Besides that, in order to create a new block every time that we want to insert data, let's say, for example, in the Bitcoin blockchain, we have several blockchains that you've probably heard of. We have Bitcoin, we have Ethereum, we have Solana, and we have many, many more. Those are the top three. And within each and every block, you can see the data that is stored within. For example, on the Bitcoin, we have the data of the transaction, which means that person A did a transaction for person B, and he sent him specific amount of money. And not just that, this amount of money was sent on specific time and from a specific digital wallet. And all of this data is basically contained in the same one blockchain. It is a chain of blocks that contains data. In order to add more blocks to this chain, the miner, the person who actually adding on top of these blocks, in order to add more blocks to this chain, there should be a resolve of mathematical indication, which basically doing a hard time for people to really make it easy to add blocks to the blockchain. One more thing that is important to understand in terms of the blockchain, it is that it is decentralized. And what I mean by that, the blockchain is decentralized by the storage. I mean, we are using peer-to-peer nodes, and each node of this network basically contain all the data of the block of the chain, which means that each node holds a copy of the chain, of the whole chain. And if someone wants, and if a new block is going to be added to the chain, then all the nodes on this network should agree by consensus, and there are several types of consensus, but basically everyone has to agree that this block should be added. If not, then this block will not be added, and this basically will affect the network. So all of those things are basically help the blockchain to be more reliable than one unique server that all the data is constantly stored on top of it. So this is something that what I believe that the blockchain will eventually help in order to store data, and for us as users to save our own data and not to be decided by, for example, social media can decide to censor some data of someone. So if you are using blockchain technology, then you are the only one that can own the data, and you are the only one that can decide if you want to censor this data or that you want to keep it permanently on the block. So let's talk about Bitcoin. You probably heard more and more about it. And I just want to say that the Bitcoin is a virtual token that is working, and this token is basically not working as it is something that attached to any country or any central bank or any government. It is working digitally based on a ledger that is public, and it is working by saving all of this data on the network that is contained peer-to-peer nodes, and all of the transactions that are using inside of this Bitcoin network are basically using it by using cryptography. What else do I want to tell you about the Bitcoin? There are three things that I want you to identify when we are talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin, it has a digital token that is called BTC. Bitcoin is also a reference of the chain of the blocks, the Bitcoins, and Bitcoin is also the Bitcoin network. So when we're talking about the Bitcoin, this is something that I want you to remember, that Bitcoin is decentralized, and it is definitely one of the tokens, decentralized finance, DeFi, that is helping people to create on top of the blockchain. Let's talk about NFT. You probably heard this phrase a lot during the last year. And what I really love about the NFT is not the bad attitude that it collected during those last months. Basically, I love the technology. NFT stands for non-fungible token, which is basically a unique digital asset that represents the ownership on top of the blockchain, which means that each person can create any digital asset like, I don't know, photo, video, website, domain address, tweet, image, you name it, music, anything that you can digitally create. And the NFT that attached to these assets basically help recognize and understand who is the owner of this token, who is the owner of this asset. If we're talking about the Mona Lisa, you know, back in those days where Da Vinci created the Mona Lisa, he didn't realize that he was creating something that is so unique. I mean, people really wanted to copycat it, right? But if we're talking in terms of the NFT, we have only one Mona Lisa. We don't have many copies of it. We only have one. And the reason that I put the Mona Lisa here is because I wanted to emphasize that the NFT is only one. It is unique. You cannot break it to pieces. Like, for example, Bitcoin, you can divide into different fragments of the Bitcoin, but the NFT is non-fundable, which means that we cannot split it to any different parts. Like the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa doesn't worth anything if it is in pieces, right? It is only worth something when it is in one piece. And this is why I wanted to put this here to emphasize this, that you cannot split the NFT. Let's look at some of the NFT history. Back in June 2017, the CryptoPunk was created. Do you know the CryptoPunks? The CryptoPunks is basically a collection of 10,000, you see, NFTs. This is how they look. And those 10,000 PNGs, actually, NFTs, were gifted freely without paying anything to anyone that wants. Anyone who wants an NFT, they are computer generated, which means a computer created all of those items. You can see that some of the items have the same, for example, the same glasses, same hats, similar options that you can see over here. And the CryptoPunks, 10,000 of them originally were gifted freely without paying anything. What happens next is that currently they are being sold in millions, which means that people who own the originally NFT, those CryptoPunks, can basically get paid because of their originality, because they are unique and they only have just one piece of each. They are not duplicated of any of them. Because of that, each one is currently sold in millions and millions and millions. I won't mention the CryptoKitties, but basically the CryptoKitties, you can create an NFT of this kitty and you can help him grow and give him food and so on and so on. This is the history of the NFT. Now I want to take you, please, to the future, which means I want to show you a little bit of an implementation of what we're doing with the NFT. I'm going to represent 4 main use cases that are in different type of areas. For example, the first one is art. Art like painting or creating drawings or creating movies or even musical beats are the most useful and common uses for the NFT token. You can attach this token to any art, starting by painting that you draw in your iPad or a painting of Monet that is represented in the museums, the most important museums in the world. And this means that we are attaching for each existing art, for existing painting that represented within the most famous museums around the world, we are attaching it an NFT, which means that whoever holds and have the ownership of this NFT is basically have the ownership of this painting. For example, if we were mentioning the Mona Lisa earlier, then anyone can buy the NFT of the Mona Lisa. It doesn't mean that the Mona Lisa itself, we have the virtual asset and we have the physical asset. It doesn't mean that the physical asset is basically his, because currently it belongs to the French government, and it is represented in the Louvre. But if someone buys the NFT of the Mona Lisa, then he is holding the NFT, the digital asset that is attached to the NFT, to this drawing, to the Mona Lisa. Let's talk about another implementation of the NFT, the way we see it and the way it is coming to be more popular during these days. For example, the avatar. The NFT can represent our avatar. If we're going to go around and be around the metaverses, which we will discuss in a bit, in the metaverse, each one of us will have our own representation. What it means that if we are going to play some game, doesn't matter which game you're playing, within this game, each one of us has a player, and this player is being represented by its own avatar. And this avatar has glasses, has a unique hat, has t-shirt, boots, and belts, and whatever that they want to create for this avatar. And it is something that it is already exists today. So in terms of NFT implementation, let's look, for example, at this platform that's called Sandbox. Sandbox is a platform that is basically, it is a metaverse. And by metaverse, I'm referring to digital universe that contains a lot of the things that we have in the real world, in the universe. And this, for example, Sandbox is a virtual game that the players can just log in. By the way, they are logging in by using their own digital wallet. If you don't have a digital wallet, you cannot enter this metaverse. And each player have their own avatar, and each avatar is dressed in a unique way. For example, this guy over here, you can see that he has these different boots, and he have this cave, and he have this mustache, and he have this belt, and so on. Each item on this avatar is unique, is an NFT. And the reason that we are creating and we are attaching NFT to each one of the items is that the creator of the items is basically attaching it to the avatar itself. For example, let's take another metaverse that is rising up currently, and Decentraland is another example, when you can go inside Decentraland, walk and stroll within the metaverse, and you can easily meet more people, build your buildings, buy things within, and also on Sandbox. Sandbox metaverse, basically everyone that wants to join and participate the game can buy their own land, which means Sandbox is selling land, and each land is an NFT also. So in terms of gaming, we are not talking only about the avatar, we are talking also about the lands. And each person that holds an NFT that attached to a different land space, they can build on top of this. People can play within this land. They can put some, I don't know, marketing. They can do whatever, advertising sign. They can do whatever they want. There is a space specifically for if you've heard of Snoop Dogg. He bought a land within Sandbox, and he is currently playing there, and he is playing his music, and he's creating parties, and his neighbors are Nike and Adidas, and a lot of companies that want to get representation within these spaces. And for example, if we're talking about Nike and Adidas, if Nike and Adidas would like to share a new, I don't know, there is a new shoe that's coming up, and it is combined to their campaign, and they are creating their next shoe, and this shoe can be an NFT, so that the avatar, my avatar, for example, can put and Nike shoes and walk with them within the metaverse. Similarity to Meta. Meta is the metaverse of Facebook. They are currently working on it, and we would love to see some of the implementation in the near future. But basically, think about it. Currently, we're doing this meeting on Zoom, right? In the near future, not so far, we can do our meetings within the metaverse. And within this metaverse, each one of us will have their unique avatar. I can dress my avatar any way that I think that I want it to look like. It could look like me, it could look like whatever that I want. And each item that I put on him or on her will be an NFT. I can put her a nice dress, I can put her sunglasses, I can put a lot of things that each one is unique and each one is an NFT. Another implementation that I really, really love is that NFT in fashion world. Of course, you're familiar with the NFT, with each in the fashion world, each design house, for example, if we're talking about Dolce & Gabbana, if we're talking about Louis Vuitton, if we're talking about different designers, that each one of them is basically creating one piece, a unique piece that the designers choose to create only once. It is similar to the NFT. NFT, as we said, it is rare and it is unique. So, for example, let's say that a fashion house created a unique dress that is very rare, and her timing is accordingly. So let's assume that we attach to this dress also the digital asset that allows the owner that this fashion item, it is unique, that this fashion item can basically in the future get dressed to my avatar. And so, which means that the lady that buy this one unique one piece can get both, also the dress in the real world and also the dress in the digital world, which means they can have their dresses as a dress for the avatar. And we have several examples. One that is from really last Friday. And before that, I will just say that we have the baby Birkin bag. The baby Birkin bag is a bag that it is already exists, and you can buy this item as an NFT, and you can buy this item also in the real world. Also, the collection of Dolce & Gabbana that was released and it was sold out. And also this latest collection of Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton trucks was released on this Friday. And basically what they are going to do is that they are going to send the trucks to people who will buy this unique NFT. The NFT is actually a treasure box, as you can see that he is holding right here. And this treasure box will contain a lot of goodies that people will be able to get in the cost of only 39,000 euro. And what's unique about it is that currently we are in the crypto and the blockchain and the Web3 ecosystem. We are kind of, moved aside after everyone is speaking and talking about the latest technology, the AI and the generative AI and the things that, ChatGPT brought to us. And we recently didn't have a lot of good news in this area of cryptocurrency and Web3. So the adoption of Louis Vuitton and this implementation and this process of how he see exactly this process, and he is attaching an NFT to this trunk, and this is something that implements that this is here to stay, and it is here to grow. And I truly believe that this thing, we will hear about it a lot. And it's just recent news from this Friday. You can find it everywhere, and you can see the amazing website that they have created. Okay, so I'm moving on to the last implementation of NFT. Sorry for this. Fan club. The way I see it, for example, let's talk about, I don't know, Adele, for example. Let's assume that Adele is going to be to open a fan club. What it means by that is that she will bring all of her fans. She will give them specifically gifts only if they buy her NFT, which means that these NFT holders will be able to see her in the Golden Ring, or to come to a conference with her, or to come to see her backstage, or meet her face to face, and so on and so on. A lot of benefits that Adele will give to the NFT holder. Another one example that I want to show you in terms of fan club is this guy, Gary Vee. Not sure if you're familiar with him. Gary Vee is basically has millions of followers, and he is working in the marketing area. And I'm sure that you probably heard about his marketing company. And he is also a person that you can invite as a key opinion leader to any conference that you're participating in. And this guy, when he recognized that the NFT is something that is going to be very interesting, he created his own cards, his own unique cards that he drew it by himself. And each unique card is attached to an NFT. And he opened up and sell all those NFTs. And these NFTs card holders basically have a real life benefits, which means every year Gary Vee is creating his VCon, which is a conference that he creates all the content, and people really from all over the world wants to come and see him and hear everything that he says. And this conference is a very big conference, obviously, or maybe you probably heard it. And each NFT holder of this Gary Vaynerchuk NFT creator, each person who holds this NFT can come and join this conference, this VCon, freely for 3 years ahead, which means each card holder has a benefit of 3 years using if they can show on the line that they are having Gary Vee NFT. The reason I love this idea is because we can see real world implementation. I mean, all of those examples that I've shown here are real world implementation. It's not just something like you probably heard of the Bored Ape Yacht Club and a lot of things that you are using NFT as a nonsense. I don't believe that is a nonsense. It is, sure, it is immature right now, but it will evolve as we all evolve within this technology. And of course, the implementation will be amazing. Let's talk about the future of smart contracts. Before I talk about what is the future of smart contract, I just want to say in a simple word, what is smart contract? Okay. For example, let's talk about a candy machine. You've probably heard of it, and you probably know what it means. So if I go to a candy machine and I want to choose my favorite chocolate bar, which is, the one that holds the most, the double chocolate, okay? And if I want to select specific item, I go to this dashboard and I type the name of my bar, my chocolate bar, and the machine in the back of her mind is basically doing several things. The first thing that it does check if the item is in stock. The next thing that it checks if the amount of money that I enter the machine is the right amount of money. If it is the amount of money, then I will get my chocolate bar, right? If it is not, then of course, I will need to add some more money. If I entered more money than expected, then I will get change, right? This is normal candy machine. We all know it. It is known everywhere. How it is related to smart contracts and what exactly is smart contracts and where do we use them? As I mentioned, NFT is sitting on top of the blockchain. NFT, usually the common NFTs that we see today more and more are NFTs that are sitting on top of a blockchain that's called Ethereum. And some of them today, because of some fees, are sitting on the blockchain that's called Polygon. So in order to create an NFT, and NFT is stored on top of the blockchain, before it is stored within the blockchain, NFT is signed by a smart contract. And what I'm saying here is basically that a smart contract is very similar to the behavior of candy machine. And what I mean by that, you see, a smart contract is basically a short code that is a short script of code that is doing the exact same condition, is checking conditions similar to what I've described, the conditions between a buyer and a seller. For example, if I want to sell an NFT from my digital wallet to your digital wallet, and we can change the addresses later if you want. So I will need to know your address, and the smart contract will recognize within the script, within the code, it will recognize the phases that it has to check. For example, do you have the amount of money to send me after you get the NFT? Do you use a valid address? Does the timing is correct within your time and it is not something that is fixed? And so on and so on. There are a lot of conditions that are really here that you can implement within the smart contract. So all of those things are basically happening automatically in the back of the mind before the transaction is actually done. The Bitcoin actually is not working like this. The Ethereum is, and this is what makes it very popular to use on top of the NFTs. And within the smart contracts are staying within the network. And because they are staying within the network, there is no possibility that we can interact with them. So even if they are programs that automatically executes the terms when the certain conditions are met, it is self-executing and operates on the blockchain. So because they are immutable and are distributed, once a contract is created, we cannot change it. We cannot change any contract, any smart contract, however and wherever we want to do it. And the fact that they are decentralized says that once the result of a contract, once the contract has reached to its destination, it is verified by each and every one of the network. Okay, so smart contracts, because they are staying within the blockchain, we cannot make any HTTP calls. We cannot, for example, I cannot find the real time that is currently on your location and match it with my time. If, for example, it is something that within the contract I have to example. So basically, we are using oracles. Oracles are, for example, I call them the smart, entity that helps the smart contract to be more precise, more accurate. We have two different types of oracles. We have hardware oracle, which is when the data is coming from hardware devices like barcode or, IoT items. And this type of information is useful for things like registering event or something like this. And we have software oracles. Software oracles refers to the information that we read online, such as weather forecasts, fuel rates, exchange rates, stock prices, and many, many more. So the software oracles provide smart contracts with a wide range of up-to-date data. So I won't repeat what is the difference between the Web3 and the metaverse. I just want to say it in very high level. The Web3 is, as we said, a decentralized and the next generation of the internet. It will combine all the latest technologies that we know and we are hearing and we are using right now. Recently, I've stumbled in an article that one person have created a token from scratch using ChatGPT. He asked the ChatGPT to create a white paper, which a white paper is the paper that defines all the data in the terms that related to the token that is created. So he created a white paper with the ChatGPT and he started to sell it. Simple as that. This is one implementation of the combination between the Web3 and the AI and what we are facing right now. Just before I wrap up, the metaverse is something that is very, very real. I know that I've discussed about the avatars, but it is something that is going to be here for every one of us, especially now with the goggles of Apple, the new Googles. So I just want to say thank you very much. Do you have any questions, Kirsty? Do you see any questions?
No, but we're definitely open the Q&A portion. And so anyone, please feel free to ask Hilla directly, or you can also send your notes to the chat box.
I just want to say thank you very much for being here and thank you for listening. And if you have any question, please, now is the time. Great. So I'm understandable. They understood everything I said.
Yeah, exactly. I'm shocked. Israelis don't have questions. I'm completely shocked.
This means that they understand. Thank you.
Well, Hilla, on behalf of Paul Mirage and the Mirage Institute, thank you so much for taking time to enlighten our Mirage tribe today. It was excellent, informative, and very relevant in today. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.